Yes, welcome to the Boxing Gods. This is our predictor series. We've got tonight Terence Bud Crawford versus Sean Showtime Porter. How do we see this fight going? Right. Sean Porter, we know, is a tough competitor, always brings the heat, very good at coming forward, provides good pressure when he does come forward, very strong fighter, physical fighter, not uh, a lot of punching power in terms of sort of one punch, but he can do accumulative damage, so he can uh, build up his attack and have some success that way. We know that Terence Crawford is a notoriously slow starter, usually because he's figuring out his opponent, so he tends to take the first one or two rounds off just working out his opponent's timing, gauging his distance, and usually rounds sort of 3, 4, 5, he starts to get into his rhythm, and that's how I sort of see this fight going. I think Sean Porter will have a bit of success in the early rounds, um, with his sort of pressure, with Bud being quite inactive, playing the patient game, the waiting game. Maybe the first 2 or 3 rounds will go to Porter, but from about rounds 4 onwards, I do think Terence Crawford will start turning the screws, picking his punches. He's physically very, very strong, a lot stronger than people give him credit from. We know he's got a wrestling background. As strong as Sean Porter is, I think Crawford's filled out of the weight really well. I can actually see him manhandling Porter on the inside. When Porter does rush in, I can see Crawford being able to tie him up, push him, pivot, move around him, and sort of have no issues on the physical front, which is, you don't tend to say that for a Sean Porter opponent, but I do think Terence Crawford is physically actually the stronger man here. I think he's got enough punching power to earn Porter's respect, where Porter stops sort of running in and doesn't recklessly try and run in. I think Porter will try his double feints, his triple feints, but in terms of engaging, I think once he feels Crawford's power and Crawford's gained that respect from Porter, he's going to be quite reluctant to just jump in. So middle rounds, I think Crawford will start picking up the pace, looping shots, uppercuts, and hooks. Not always going to work well against someone like Sean Porter. Crawford's smart enough to find the angles. He's got great vision. He'll be able to find openings. And I see it being quite a wide decision victory in the end, potentially a very, very late stoppage, perhaps around 10 or around 11. I can see a late stoppage for Terence Crawford winning, potentially around 10 or around 11. Most likely an uppercut hook combination, sort of a looping hook that gets around Sean Porter's guard, will probably do the first damage, maybe get a sort of flash knockdown or a knockdown. And then, Crawford is an elite finisher over the ref probably jumping in to stop it, is how I see it. If not that, then as I say, quite a convincing sort of points victory. I don't see any troubles at all for Crawford in this fight. Um, no trouble at all. The only concern might be if Porter, um, and he does tend to do this in some fights, tend to be quite dirty, and actually overly dirty in his tactics. So I can see potentially Porter, rushing in with his head or trying to force some sort of illegal contacts, whether it's probably a headbutt most likely, but trying to rough up Crawford and potentially he can have a cut over his eye or something like that, where we might see Crawford in some adversity that we haven't really seen him in before. That's the only way I see him having any trouble in this fight. I noticed in his last fight against Kell Brook, he did have a slight scratch or a slight cut, but the location of the cut was quite interesting. It was just on his eyelid, his right eyelid. It didn't bleed out too much, but when you have a cut on that area, it's always interesting to see how it holds up on the next couple of fights. He doesn't look like he's got sort of loose skin, so I don't think it should be an issue. But the only trouble potentially I can see him having in this fight is if Sean Porter tries to make it very, very dirty. But other than that, I really do see a clinic from round 4 onwards by Terence Crawford, with potentially a late, very late stoppage around 10 or 11. Not a KO, but mercy stoppage, referee or towel, something like that. With Crawford just picking his punches, the uppercut and the looping hook's probably going to work a treat. So that's our prediction at the Boxing Gods. Crawford potentially late stoppage, otherwise quite a wide victory on points, most likely 160, 112, along those lines. So leave your thoughts in the comment box. Who do you think will win the fight? How do you think they'll win the fight? Who would you like to see Crawford go against next if he wins, or Porter if he wins? And make sure you like, subscribe, and comment on the video. And that's it. We're out. Peace.